Welcome back to Relax Radio with me, Nick, keeping you guys company, keeping you all entertained, and keeping you guys up to date with what is going on right now in the UK. That's right. We're talking about a lot of these things happening right now, and one of this is what is actually happening right now is that MP Tim Foreign accepts 50,000 donation declarations, and this is a breached code. That's right. That is what is going on. And if you guys are wondering who this is, I'm Nick, and I'm keeping you guys company all the way until 6 p.m. That's right. In case you guys are wondering, you can always feel free to call us up on those numbers. It's 07852 473 Those are the numbers you can call us up on. And in case you guys are wondering, you can always check us out on our webpage, which is relaxradio.net. That's right. You can also check us out on the app, which is on we go live on the Apple App Store, or as I was talking about these things that is happening right now. So the MP Tim Farron has apologized after breaking standard rules by failing to declare more than £57,000 of donation within the proper time limit. So Faith in Public, a religious think tank, the MP started. So basically, Mr. Farron started this, made donations worth 48,000 pounds. That's right. That is the amount of donations that he did, while a refugee group paid for a 9,000 pounds advisor. So yeah, the parliamentary commissioner for standards found he failed to register them within the 28-day time limit. And the Westmoreland and Landscape MP said he would ensure it did not happen again. And Commissioner Catherine Stone investigated after a complaint from a member of the public. So yeah, there was all these issues, these ongoing issues that is happening, and this is just some of the things that they were trying to address as they came along. And these are just is going on. And like I said, the complainant, the commissioner Catherine Stone, she did say this, and the complainant said the donations, which included the services of a public relations company worth 14,400 pounds, was two policy advisors worth 22,918 pounds, and an intern worth 11,000. That's right, 11,368 pounds. Yeah, in case you guys are wondering, this is all the things that is happening, and these were all made back in March. So yeah, April and September of 2020, but were not registered until the 19th of February this year. So yeah, the commissioner also found a donation made by the Refugee Asylum and Migrations Policy Project, the RAMP, of an advisor worth 9,100 pounds on the 1st of January 2021 was not declared in time. So Mr. Farron and Faith in Public and RAMP had supported him for a number of years. The latest declarations were due at the beginning of the COVID, with all of these huge volumes of correspondence from constituents, while also trying to set up the teamwork to work remotely. So this is the kind of thing that Mr. Farron was saying. And the former Liberal Democrat leader also said he was out of action for between 2 to 3 weeks with suspected coronavirus, adding, "We clearly just lost track of when the declaration had been made up to and when they needed reviewing." So yeah, these are the kind of the issues that they have been addressing right now. And when you come to think of it, all these issues, these underlying issues that is going on, a lot of the, like, what, for instance, we had this issue with Boris Johnson. Boris Johnson had the issue where he did not declare most of his, where he's getting his money from, who are the people donating the money from, and who are they donating it to, how much are they donating, and what are they expecting in return. So this is the kind of thing this is the kind of thing, that they are trying to battle right now, the UK. And it's crazy, with what is being said, especially when you think about it. And yeah, the former Liberal Democrat was out of action. He'd been out, with this coronavirus. He lost the time. He lost track of time and was unable to renew all of this. So yeah, the commissioner also said in a referral to the Standards Committee was not necessary, as Mr. Farron had apologized, rectified the delay, and agreed for the donations to be added to the register. So all of this, is what is being investigated right now. And yeah, these are just some of the things that they have been investigating. They've been trying to address as as it goes by. And yeah, it's just with the Boris Johnson situation all over again. If you think about it, Boris Johnson is being investigated, like I said, by the MP Standard Watchdog over the funding of a Caribbean hotel holiday in 2019. So it comes back to the case, Boris Johnson and all of these issues. And yeah, the Common Standard Commissioner, like I said, Catherine Stone, has also confirmed she's looking into whether the Prime Minister, correctly declared how the trip was paid for. So yeah, Mr. Johnson has previously declared he received accommodations worth £15,000 covered by Carphone Warehouse co-founder had acted correctly and transparently. So yeah, Labor said that there was questions over Mr. Ross's generosity, but the commissioner normally investigates whether MPs have failed to declare a financial interest. So this has not been declared correctly, or whether it's declared it too late. So this is what the commissioner usually they investigate on, whether MPs have done this, have they followed the rules, have they followed all of the things that have been required from them, and if not, how are we going to penalize these MPs? So Mr. Ross, like I said, Mr. Ross initially said he had not paid any monies for the trip Mr. Johnson took with his partner Carrie Simmons. This is all, they had a travel trip rather to the private islands of Mustique, part of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, between Boxing Day 2019 and the 5th of January 2020. He later clarified, though, he had back facilitated accommodations for the Prime Minister, and Mr. Ross added that Mr. Johnson's declaration of a benefit in a kind in the February 2020 MP's Register of MPs interest had been correct. So, the wonder what's happening. And the real thing is, like I said, they've been trying to say all of this, but the Labor Department have asked for the Standard Commissioner to investigate, saying Mr. Johnson's entry appeared to be incorrect. Yes, there's been possible, because of this, there has been possible sanctions. And Mrs. Stone confirmed, that the Prime Minister was among the 9 MPs currently being investigated. In case you guys are wondering, who are all these MPs that are being investigated? Well, the name of the MPs are all of these. So it goes from Honorary Owen Patterson, Boris Johnson, Mr. Adam Holloway, the Colonel Bob Stewart, Natalie Elpike, Roger Gale, Honorary Teresa Villiers, and Jonathan Gillis. So yeah, all of these are currently under investigation by the Labor Department. And yeah, this is just some of this, and they're wondering whether these MPs have actually breached any kind of code or any kind of contract. So yeah, these states, they've said that they have to register visits costing more than 3. If you're going for a travel, if MP is going for a travel, the government, they have to declare if it's more than £300, whether they have been wholly covered by the MPs themselves or by taxpayer money. I mean, people are not going to be glad when they find out that these MPs are going out for the lavish, exotic trips, and they are using the taxpayers' money, right? This is the Standards Committee, which can order MPs to apologize or pay back money. That's right. If they're found guilty of this, they will be asked to pay back money if they're found in breach of the code. So in extreme cases, it can recommend MPs be suspended. This is the worst case scenario, although this requires approval from the whole Commons and has only happened a handful of times. So yeah, the Labour Deputy Leader, Angela Rayner, has said the public have a right to know who paid for Mr. Johnson's luxury Caribbean holiday and the renovations of his flat. So most importantly, we need to know what these donors were promised or expected in return for their generosity. But Downing Street spokesperson has said the Prime Minister transparently declared that the benefit in kind in the Commons register of interest. So they further went on to state, that clearly the rules are set out, and it's important that everyone abides by them, as the Prime Minister has done throughout. So these are just, some of the things that the investigation is going on. Like I said, Jim Farron, all these issues as well. And then, we have Boris Johnson on this one side. So, the Labour has also asked Mrs. Stone, rather, to investigate the Prime Minister over how renovations of his official Downing Street flat was initially paid for. Because a lot of people are scratching their head and asking the question: did he actually pay for this? Is the money coming from him, or is it taxpayers' money? Are we supposed to be concerned about this? And if so, what? Where can we put our faith in the government? Can we put our faith in the government? Is what they are trying to ask. So in April 2019, Mr. Johnson was rebuked by the parliamentary commissioner for standards for failing to register a share of the Somerset property within 28 days of acquiring it. So this is just some of the things, that Boris Johnson has been going through, and what he's not been actually addressing, and all of these issues, like I said, is going on with all of this. So it's just crazy, with what is happening in the UK. This is just, some of the things that is going on. And I mean, when you think about it, people have these: who is donating this money? How is this money coming from? Why are they being so charitable? And what is going on? What is the con of this? Like, what are they expecting in return? Is the kind of question, that they're asking themselves. Is this something that we are supposed to be concerned about? That is what the government wants to know. Are we supposed to be worried about this? Should this be even happening? And if so, how do we penalize these MPs? I mean, how do we prevent this from even happening again if this is happening? Because this is a major issue. People are concerned. They want to know. Like, for instance, like I said, Boris Johnson, he spent £250,000. People are asking, where's this money coming from? Where is all of this money coming from? Is it coming from the people's taxpayers' money, or is it his own pocket? And if so, why did he not declare how he's getting this money from? And this is all, some of the issues that is underlying right now, and they're trying to address. Hopefully we can get to the bottom of this, but as things goes, this is just what it is right now. And with that being said, we're going to be taking a real quick break, and we'll Welcome back to the show. This is Relax Radio with me, Nick. Welcome back to the show. This is Relax Radio with me, Nick, keeping you guys company all the way until 6 p.m. That's right. You know, we're talking about all that is happening right now in the UK. And one of the issues is, in the country, Priti Patel. She's been accused of lobbying for face mask firms. So yeah, Home Secretary Priti Patel has been accused of lobbying a few fellow ministers on behalf of a healthcare firm trying to get a government contract. So in May last year, Ms. Patel wrote to Michael Gove expressing disappointment the government had not bought face masks from a company that had links to show to someone she knew. And she was wondering, labor has called, for this investigation right now, and they're wondering, saying she's breached this ministerial rules. So Ms. Patel's spokesperson said she acted as she should have. So yeah, the Home Secretary rightly followed up representations made to her about the vital supply of the PPE, the spokesperson said. So during a time of national crisis, failure to do so would have been a dereliction of duty, if you really think about it. And in recent years, there have been a series of revelations about PPE's deals awarded to those with government. In 2020, Ms. Patel wrote a letter to Mr. Gove, the cabinet office minister, about a company called Pharmaceuticals Direct Limited that was in talks with the government about an order of face masks. That's right. This is something that, she was just getting into. And, and this was all just a part of the things that she was talking about. And she also said, that the government's late stage decision not to use the company had caused problems for that particular firm. So this is just, what is happening. And she wrote in a letter to Mr. Gove, she said, I would be most grateful if you could review this matter urgently. And the contact at Pharmaceuticals Direct Limited was a man called Samir Jasal, a conservative activist who Ms. Patel knew. So according to LinkedIn, he worked as an advisor to Ms. Patel between 2014 and 2015, and on a social media described her as a good friend. So Home Secretary Matt Hancock wrote back to Ms. Patel to say the masks being offered, by the firm were not suitable for use in the NHS. So the company was later awarded a contract in July 2020 worth £1.3 million to supply a different type of face mask. So yeah, the letters which have been first reported in the day, which have been reported recently, have now seen by now just all of it have been seen, have come to light as part of a legal challenge by the Good Law Project. When you think about it, this is the kind of issue that we are talking about. What the lobbying, the green steel capital issue, and David Cameron. This is the same kind of issue that is going on right now, and people are concerned, especially when it comes back to the government, when it comes back to the parliament. When you think about all these MPs, they're taking advantage of the situation. Especially when it comes to information like this. So the Labor has called for an investigation, and they said there was no evidence that the Home Secretary had any interest in the PPE deal until they're contacted by Mr. Jasal, and suggesting that she did it as a favor to her friend. So yeah, this would represent a glaring and flagrant breach of the ministerial code, the party said, referring to the set of rules for ministers' conduct. And in case you guys are wondering, this is something that we talked about, on in the month. We were talking about all of these things, and all this lobbying issues was started off by David Cameron and the Green Steel Capital issue right there. So after, like I said, after the coronavirus hit, all of these things were happening. And, the Good Law Project, a campaign group which took the government to court over not publishing PPE contracts, is taking legal action over the 103 million contract for masks. So yeah, the government has previously said ministers have no part in deciding who gets contracts. And after coronavirus hit the UK, well, the government struck thousands of deals with private companies, spending billions. I phrase that again, billions of pounds of public money in the process. And it was because of an emergency. The government was allowed to go directly to preferred suppliers without any competition. So, when you really look at these kind of issues, it makes you wonder, this has led to questions about the way these contracts are being chosen. So people are wondering, okay, is this even right? Are they even following protocol? Isn't this a little bit of a unjustifiable when you think about it? Well, these are the things that they are wondering. Yeah, Pharmaceuticals Direct have been they've been also contacted, and they've been spoken about, and the government had wanted a word with them, and they wanted comment, and nothing's really been going on. So Mr. Jasal previously said the company has 20 years experience in the healthcare sector, and it asked to supply PPE via online government portals. So the company, he said, had supplied PPE to various outlets for many years. That's right. Priti Patel, like I said, she is coming under fire, and people are wondering, is this even right? Are they even following the proper rules and regulations? And right now she's also coming under laws, and a lot of people are not quite happy with Priti Patel's issues. And one such is, the Patel, how Howard Beckett, says that the Patel law is disgusting, and this is all coming out from the union boss after the labor suspension. So this is just, another thing that they were talking about as they went on along in, talking about all of these things. Like I said, Priti Patel is right now not the most, most sought after Secretary's immigration of the union official Howard Beckett has said following his suspension from labor. Yeah, so you guys are wondering, all these things that is going on. In case you guys have your own concerns, you can always feel free to hit me up and let me know what you guys think. I mean, do you think this is right? Priti Patel is doing something like this, and how people are backlashing her. You can always hit me up and let me know on our numbers. That is 07852 473. Those are the numbers, and you can also advertise. You can also, you can check us out on our social media pages, which is on relaxradio.net. You can check us out. We're pretty big on social media. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. We're also pretty much big on Twitch as well. Don't forget to download our app from the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store. To carry us all day, every day, 365, 24/7. And like I said, a lot of people are not quite happy with Miss Patel's issues right now, especially with her, after the labor leader, the union official, Howard Beckett had a, a suspension. So this whole suspension, the United Assistant General Secretary tweeted that Priti Patel should be deported. I mean, that was a pretty racist comment for him to be saying. Mr. Beckett later apologized, though, to Ms. Patel and deleted the post, but he said, his suspension was completely inappropriate, and he said this to sources, and he insisted he would not you not put out of the race to lead Unite. So he also added that he would not receive any notice of suspension from labor, and it found out about the move on social media. I mean, that is a kind of crappy way to go when you think about it. I mean, it's not that great when you think to be known that you're suspended from work or whatever through social media is not the best way to be breaking the news to people. Well, he also added, Labor was becoming the party of establishment and accused the party leader, Sir Keir Starmer, of failing to show leadership. This is what he specifically said. And while suspended from the party, Mr. Beckett is not allowed to take up his place on the labor rules body. So yeah, he sits as the union representative on Labor's National Executive Committee, a role that requires membership of the party. That's the only time you can be a union representative. So Mr. Beckett is a candidate in the race to succeed long-standing leader Len McCluskey at Unite, one of Labor's biggest financial backers. That's right. And his tweet was a response to the Home Office detaining two Indian immigrants in Glasgow back in Thursday. So this is all over suspected immigration offenses. So yeah, the Home Office defended its action, saying the UK government is tackling illegal immigration and the harm it causes, often to the most vulnerable people, by removing those with no right to be in the UK. And this is the new rules that they've been trying to impose. They're trying to discourage people from crossing the channel over to UK. I mean, they're saying, okay, in case you guys, let's say for instance, you're crossing over from point A country to the UK, well, we'll have to deport you back to that country from which you travel from. So if you came from, let's say from Italy, well, you have to go back to Italy. Why are you coming to the UK is what the question that is, being circulated right now. And this is the kind of things that the kind of bills and policies that they are trying to implement a moment. So yeah, all of this is crazy news when it's going around. When you think about it, all of this is just a matter of fact. When you think about all of these things that is circulating right now, it is pretty hard. And Priti Patel, like I said, is not the most favorite of people at the moment. So yeah, with all that being said, we are going to be taking a real quick break, and we'll be right back after this.
Welcome back to welcome back to Relax Radio. Hey, this is me, Nick, keeping you guys company and entertained with what is going on right now. And we're talking about a lot of these things that is happening in the UK. And one of this is, like I said, the whole COVID situation and this whole mask situation brings up the question. Well, there has been a variant fears that could delay England's the 21st of June easing review. So these are just, some of the things that is happening right now. And, a review of social distancing rules in England may be delayed as a result of the spread of the Indian COVID variant. This is what Downing Street is saying right now. And when you think about it, it kind of makes sense with the situation that is going on. When you think about it, Boris Johnson has also said he had hoped to provide an update by the end of this month ahead of the planning lifted of the remaining restrictions on the 21st of June. This is what he's talking about. His whole plan is to get the roadmap going. This is the whole end game right now. This is what he's planning to do. He's trying to get this all on the way. And to do that, to get everyone vaccinated is one of his primary goals, to reach herd immunity so we can break the link between transmission and the number of cases in the UK. However, though, the number 10 has said the government now cannot be definitive at this point, and it comes as the Prime Minister urged cautions as rules were eased from further in England, Wales, and most of the Scottish island, most of Scotland, and millions of people can now socialize indoors in limited numbers. So you can't really cross you can't really cross a threshold of number of people. All right, so you have to stay in hotels, and you can hug loved ones, visit pubs and restaurants inside, but the ban lifted and replaced with new rules. So there's been new rules. So from 21st of June, it was hoped all these legal limits on social contact would be removed. That was the main goal. So meaning unlimited guests could attend events such as weddings, and nightclubs would be allowed to reopen again. I mean, a lot of people must be super excited when it comes down to it. I mean, look, we've been in such a phase in the country where we cannot even imagine, not socializing, and now everything is easing out. The nightclubs are getting open, pubs are getting open, people can meet indoors, people can hug, but at the same time, there has been fears because of this new variant of the virus. So yeah, ahead of this, a review of the new measures as well as all the possible uses of the coronavirus status certifications, or my favorite topic, the passports. This is the digital certification of your COVID identity. So essentially, what you're going to do is, if you have taken the vaccine, whether you have taken the vaccine, whether you've been exposed, or whether you have not taken the vaccine, well, this passport will show it all. And yeah, all of these new rules and they've been expected by the end of May. So the government has said that, this whole digital certification in the country is going to be happening, by the time the end of May approaches. So the government has also said that the further easing of restrictions depends on its 4 tests being met. Yeah, so if this is satisfied, if the government is satisfied with these particular tests, well, then we can continue with the roadmap. So this includes, that the vaccines continue to be effective. So the vaccines right now, as you look at it, vaccines are pretty effective when it comes down to the Pfizer vaccine, Moderna vaccine, the AstraZeneca. All of these 3 vaccines, especially right now, it's pretty reliable. It's pretty effective at the moment. So, and the other test is, the risks that are not fundamentally changed by so essentially this whole vaccine, whether it'll be changed by any new variant. So that's not happening right now. And these are just some of the things why right now we can follow the roadmap to fulfillment. So yeah, the Prime Minister's official spokesperson said the government want to do everything possible to prepare. And yeah, this is just, something that they are saying, and that, they're trying to address. And yeah, speaking ahead of the relaxation, Mr. Johnson also said, all these things that is going on. And, when you think about it, all of the things, they are trying to get it up and going and up and running right now with the situation and the ongoing situation. So the spokesperson said, all these things, they want enough time to prepare. But this, they further, added that the Indian variant could pose a threat to this whole process. It could, affect our decisions, and our decisions will be based on the latest data. So according to data is when we can move forward, when we can see any changes. And we will set out plans as soon as the data allows. And Monday's rule changes is comes in as the variant first identified in India continues to spread in the UK, with mass testing rolled out to hotspots, including and not limited to Bolton in Greater Manchester and parts of London and Sefton as well. So speaking ahead of the relaxation, Mr. Johnson said the government was keeping the variant under close observation now, and they're saying, okay, this is what we're going to do. We are going to address this in this kind of way, and we're going to put this whole variant under a close microscope and make sure, we're going to take any swift action where infection rates are going to start rising. So that's what Mr. Johnson is saying, and that's what he's proposing, And he asked, whether ministers would consider a return to a tired system of rules. So the Prime Minister's spokesperson said, I don't want to get ahead of where we are at the moment and starting to get into hypothetical situations. But he said there was a very targeted increase in surge vaccinations and testing in areas where they've seen and all of this. And they want to see whether they're seeing any rises, and that's they want to proceed with, if at all. But they don't want to rule out anything at this moment. At the moment, they don't really want to rule out on the possibility of another surge of the vaccines being rolled out. Well, scientists also believe the variant does spread more easily, but like I said, these are all early data. It's not really confirmed. Not really set in stone as at the moment. So these vaccines still work, but the exact impact on the vaccine's efficacy, this is just yet to be determined. So they've not really quite seen whether these vaccines, are they going to be effective? I mean, if they're effective, to what extent are they going to be effective? That is the kind of question, that is it's what the scientists are trying to answer right now at this moment. So, a lot of these rules are actually changing if you check about it. And one of the rules that are changing right now is, how these things are changing on Monday. Well, in England, people can now meet indoors in groups of up to 6 or 2 households, or in groups of up to 30 outdoors. And overnight stays are totally allowed at the moment. And pubs, bars, and restaurants can serve customers indoors. So in case you guys want to have that pint, well, you know what to do. You know how you can do it. You can do it now indoors. Well, and museums, cinemas, and children's play areas, theaters, concerts, halls, and sports stadiums can now all reopen, as can hotels. So all the entertainment side of it all is going to be reopened again. And all that. But social distancing guidelines, other households like hugs, is a matter of personal choice. So if you want to hug a person, well, you can do it, but you got to make sure that you follow the guidelines and make sure the hug doesn't last for too long. You're not facing each other face to face. It's that kind of thing. So we're trying to minimize the spread of the virus. And right now, what we're going to do, even if you did get the vaccine, even if you've been inoculated, it still does not mean that you are not, possibly carrying any of the virus with you. It still means that there is still a slight possibility that you could be carrying the virus, but you're not exhibiting the symptoms, is what I'm trying to say right now. So in Scotland, except Glasgow and Moray, people can meet indoors in groups of 6 from up to 3 households. Outdoors, up to 8 people from 8 households can mix. So pubs and restaurants can serve alcohol indoors until 10:30. That's right. And that's 10:30 p.m., you guys, in case you're wondering. And entertainment venues such as cinemas, theaters, and bingo halls can reopen, and up to 100 people are allowed at indoor events. So the other thing is, in Wales, pubs and restaurants can also they're also reopening indoors, and customers can meet in groups. If you really think about it, all of this, the cinemas, bowling alleys, museums, galleries, and theaters can reopen, and no change to indoor socializing. This is still restricted to extended households, where 2 households can mix with each other and have physical contact. So in all 3 nations, foreign holidays are allowed. I mean, like I said, in all of these 3 nations, when you think about it, foreign travel is still allowed. So this is the whole good point of it all, if you think about it. So Northern Ireland will review lockdown rules on the 20th of May, with the hopes that some of these could be lifted on the 24th of May. That's right, And earlier, Business Secretary Kowalski Gordon has said, that he was very confident the government would be able to lift England's remaining restrictions on the 21st of June, but added he can't guarantee that. Right now, he can't really guarantee. It raises the questions about all these things. It raises, all these questions, and people are wondering, hey, is this even possible? Can we even do this? Well, these are just some of the things, that they want to address. And he said the variant was becoming dominant in parts of the UK, and and yet the vaccination across the country has been extraordinarily successful. That's right. Even though there has been parts of the UK that are like now plagued with the virus, well, when you look at it from one side of the coin, yes, that's true. We're getting the variant. There are surges, but on the same side, the other side of the coin, if you look at it, we are still getting the vaccine across to all parts of the country, and that is a plus point right there. That's something we can be proud of. The UK is keeping up on their promise. They're making sure that they're gonna do this, and it's great to see that they are actually holding up with this. And when you think about it, they all say all of these things, and yeah, it's. Like I said, all of this is according to what is at the moment. So just a week ago, Boris Johnson stood at a podium in Downing Street and talked of his hopes that the government would be able to update businesses by the end of May on the future social distancing rules. That commitment is already looking shaky. He's not quite 100% there. He's still thinking about it. He's still wondering, hey, can we really do this right now? Well, it is also an indication of just how seriously the government views the emergence of the Indian variant. And Downing Street, they said today, they admitted that the deadline could slip. So they can't really promise the deadline to follow through until the end. And they expected an update for when weddings will be able to resume as normal. Also looks to be on hold right now. I mean, they say, okay, we can do this, we can do X, Y, Z, but not really set on a particular date at the moment. So yeah, the Prime Minister's original intention was to give people 28 days notice ahead of the planned 21st of June reopening. But the government has been adamant for months that it wants this lockdown to be the last lockdown. I mean, Boris Johnson, that this is going to be the last lockdown. But with the Indian variant in the country right now and spreading fast, people are asking, will this actually be the last lockdown? Will this actually spell out the last lockdown in the country? Well, these are just, some of the things that Boris Johnson hopefully will try to address as they move forward. And hey, in case you guys have any thoughts or any say on the matter, feel free to call me up, hit me up, WhatsApp me. You know what to do. You can call us up on those numbers, 07852 473 473. Those are our numbers. And also make sure to check us out on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitch as well. And don't forget to download our app from the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store. But with that being said, we are going to be taking a real quick break, and we'll be right back after this. Welcome back to the show. This is a Relax. We're talking about all things COVID related and the matter. Always feel free to call me up. You know what the numbers is. It is 07852 473 That's right. You can always call me up and let me know what your thoughts are. Or you can also check us out on our webpage, which is relaxradio.net. That's right. You know, we're talking all these things that is really happening right now in the UK. One of the things right now that we have to address, you know, and we'll be talking about as we go along in the show, is how more than 6,000 were vaccinated in Bolton over the variant of the virus. That's right, the COVID-19, the Indian variant. That's something we're going to be talking about next. But before we do that, though, there is some new emergency text alerts to be trialed right now in the UK. So yeah, new emergency text systems will be trialed right now. And and they'll be, you know, the system will be trialed this summer before being rolled out across the UK. So warnings will be sent directly to people's phones in the event of a risk to life, such as flood or fire. So in case there's a flood or there's a fire going on, this is the kind of things that, you know, there'll be. Systems exist in other countries, including New Zealand, you know, where it has been widely accredited with saving lives. This is what the government has been saying. So the first trial will be in East Suffolk on the 25th of May. So when residents will receive a test alert. Yeah, that's right. And a second test will be had in reading on the 15th of June. If it is successful, the system will be rolled out across the UK. That's right. So the Cabinet Office said the alerts would issue a warning and, you know, details of the affected areas, advice on what to do, and a link to further information. So, yeah, the system will be a vital tool in helping us to better respond to emergencies, said Penny Mordaunt, the Cabinet Office Minister. So, yeah, they also said, you know, it'll allow us to more quickly and effectively get life-saving messages to people. This is what she added. So, secure, and it's going to be secure and free. So, alerts could be sent from situations including public health emergencies, severe floods, fires, industrial incidents, and terror attacks. So in case all these kind of issues are going to be addressing it, it's great to see that there is ways and measures that they're going to be doing. And during the pandemic, the text alerts were sent to remind people to stay at home. So these text alerts were pretty useful as well. Reminding people time and time and again, stay at home. Make sure you stay at home so you don't spread the possibility of spreading the virus. It will be kept at a minimum. So yeah, the new system would use cell broadcasting technology, which the government says will ensure alerts are more secure, free to receive, and are one way. That's right. So the system does not use people's phone numbers, instead sending alerts to anyone in a specific area. That's right. When you think about it, the alerts do not reveal your location and do not collect any personal data. That's right. When you think about all these things, it does make a difference when you think about it, and all of these things that is going on. Hopefully, as we look at it, it will progress, and people will be getting back into a
gonna be, all this is gonna be with issues with the government or all of that, and people are wondering what is
happening, when you think about it. And yeah, this is just part of it. And people are afraid, your location could be revealed, or they're going to collect any of your personal data. And but they have affirmed, though the government has affirmed, that all of this, alerts can be sent by authorized governmental and emergency service users. So Ms. Mordaunt said the government was working with the devolved administration to ensure these emergency services have access to the charity sector to make sure the needs of the elderly, the vulnerable, the young people, and those with disabilities are fully considered as the new service is delivered. So it'll be possible, to opt out out of some of these alerts, though the person's and the phone settings. However, most alerts will come through, and the government recommends that people do not opt out of this option. I mean, this is something that you need to do. It would be smart for you to be doing this. I mean, hopefully, as it goes by, this is going to be happening. We will adopt this more and more as we move forward, especially with the pandemic going on. This is something that can be utilized to the maximum if you think about it. So, getting back to the topic. This is just talking about a little bit that the tech stuff and how it's going to help with the situation, because more than 6,000 have been vaccinated in Bolton over the variant. So more than 6,200 people were vaccinated in Bolton at the weekend amid concerns over the COVID variant. Yeah, that's right. People have been having their concerns, and they are wondering, hey, what is, there's a lot of this, most of it is fear of a possible surge again, and people are afraid of another spike. People don't want to get back to that notion of going back at home, being stuck at home, got nothing to do. That's not what they want right now. And, these 6,200 people who were vaccinated in Bolton at the weekend, they've been concerned over this whole Indian COVID-19 variant. So the town has seen a sharp spike in infections since mid-April, and the B16172, or the Indian variant, now makes up the majority of the new cases over there in Bolton. Yeah, that's right. So, prior to the push, about 10,000 people in the highest priority groups were yet to be vaccinated. So, yeah, Dr. Helen Wall, who is leading the town's vaccine rollout, said it had been emotional to see. She said many who had been eligible for some time came for a jab over the last 2 days, and she now hoped the program had made a big dent in the list of outstanding eligible residents. So Bolton recorded 733 new cases of the COVID-19 in 7 days to May 11th. So yeah, the highest latest data have shown. However, the rate of these new cases among people in the town age 60 and over is just up to 59.9, up from 35.3 a week earlier. So yeah, this is just, when you look at all these figures and numbers, it makes you wonder, all these cases it's escalating. People are worried about this whole new variant, especially when it comes down to this. And it's very concerning when you think about it. And people are going to be afraid. It's understandable because, like I said, we don't want to get back to that situation where we are stuck in lockdown. It's just horrible. People don't want that. People are trying to move forward from that, move past that. Hopefully, we can move past that. So the rate, for people, those of age between the ages of 10 and 19 in Bolton currently stands at 486.2 people, and per 100,000. And this up sharply, from the 207 1 week earlier. So these numbers are essentially jumping up. That's what people are afraid of. There's saying the rates are increasing, the rates of the infection, the possibilities as well in this particular area is increasing. So yeah, the efforts to get everyone eligible vaccinated saw long queues form at these vaccination hubs. So yeah, a lot of this has been going on. And despite the concerns over the new variants, the easing of the lockdown rules has gone ahead as planned. And this has been in England. So yeah, the easing of the easing of these restrictions, the laxing rather of these restrictions, allows people to socialize indoors in limited numbers, hug loved ones, and visit pubs and restaurants inside. So yeah, a lot of these, hotels and cafe people in their hotel. And for instance, Alex McVeigh said, trade had been okay since reopening, but due to the COVID measures, he had reduced the numbers of seats from 72 to 22. I mean, that's a huge, almost more than 80% of the portion of people, the number of percentage of the people that they can take inside. And he said, it's been a lot different, and it's been it's taken age and ages to get set everything and everything in place. So Mr. McVeigh, who's been during the pandemic, said he was a little bit nervous about reopening, but remained very, very hopeful. So yeah, in a push, all of this is what they are doing. So in Bolton, a big push to get more people vaccinated is bearing its fruit, though. It is showing signs that there's been improvement because of this. So health officials are targeting 10,000 people who are eligible, who qualify rather, and they've yet to come forward. They've not really stepped forward, but know that they take up with the vaccine in some parts of the town is lower than the national average. So when you think about it, it's the number of people getting vaccinated is actually disappointingly low, is what they are trying to say. And all the sources are talking about, and they say they reject the charge and that they are flouting the national rules on who can get a jab. So in February, the Joint Committee on Vaccination and Immunization, which sets the guidelines for the UK's vaccination rollout, announced factors other than just health and age could be taken into account. So it's not just going to be age. It's not going to be other factors involved. So deprivation, ethnicity, and living in a multi-generational household with older, vulnerable relatives could mean that younger people are eligible. So yeah, this is not bending the rules. This is what local leaders are saying, but rather it is exactly what the rules are for. So yeah, Health Secretary Matt Hancock said on Sunday, back in Sunday, that on a local lockdown in Bolton had not been ruled out due to a rise in cases. And he added that the mass majority of locals who had been hospitalized in recent days had not taken up the offer of a vaccine. So yeah, this is just, people are not quite stepping forward as of yet. They are trying to increase the number of people getting vaccinated. Hopefully, they can look for something as it goes by, and this is something that they can push more people to get vaccinated as they move forward. So yeah, the surge testings had begun in several other parts of northwest England, where cases involving the Indian variant are on the rise. So yeah, the variants of concern have also been detected in Blackburn in Lancashire, which neighbors Bolton, and in Side. So yeah, Blackburn, with a Warren Public Health Director, said everyone over the ages of 18 should book a COVID vaccination in their area. But the Prime Minister's official spokesperson said local areas should not vaccinate young people earlier than planned. They shouldn't vaccinate people essentially earlier than planned to stem the spread of the Indian COVID variant. So yeah, and they also said, that the Prime Minister's spokesperson also said that a Westminster briefing, the Joint Committee on Vaccinations and Immunizations, had been the best way to protect against the new variant, and was to ensure, all these vulnerable groups get their second dose of the vaccine. And this is what they're trying to push. End of the day, they want to get everyone vaccinated as it goes by. Hopefully this is something that can be achieved as we go by as a community, as we go by as a nation. This is something that we can actually be looking forward to, with the passing of time. But with that being said, we are going to be taking a real quick break, and we'll be right back after this. Welcome back to Relax Radio with me, Nick, keeping you guys company and entertained, with what is going on right now. And yes, the issues that we were discussing as we went along in the show, there's a lot of these issues, ongoing issues rather, that is happening right now. And yeah, it just goes to show, with what is happening, are the people feeling safe, especially with the COVID restrictions easing up? What is people are the people are asking the simple question: how is travel right now? Are we able to travel overseas on holidays as these rules are easing out? Well, the government does talk about this. So thousands of British holidaymakers have begun taking advantage of the easing lockdown rules on overseas travels. So that's right, travelers from England, Scotland, and Wales are jetting off to some countries in what the crisis hit tourism industry hopes is the start of a recovery. I mean, it just goes to show people are excited to get back on the road, to get back to their normal lives. This is just something that the people want at this point moving forward. These are just some of the things, that the people want right now. And when they do get it, this is how it is they're going to be reacting. The people are going to be taking advantage of it. So travelers from England, Scotland, and Wales are jetting off to some of the countries in in some of these 12 countries now. The travelers are essentially traveling to the 12 countries, the green list countries of the government's green list. So essentially these include Portugal, Israel, without isolation on their return. So the bosses of a lot of these special airways, their confidence in the air industry was returning, and the vast majority of the tourist destinations remain on the amber and red lists, meaning travelers must quarantine when they get back. So bookings are also remain well down on pre-pandemic levels. And a lot of these people also are talking. They're saying, these are just little steps in the beginning of the. It's just a small gear in the grand scheme of things. So they say, the BA chief executive Sean Doyle has said that Airline 6's flights due to depart from Heathrow on Monday to green light destinations such as Lisbon, Faro, and Madeira were very busy. And he said, that the latest relaxation of restrictions was just a small step in the right direction. So yeah, all of these, famous airlines, they're talking about this. And the Ryanair chief executive Michael O'Leary said there was definite signs of an early rebound in travel to European destinations. So bookings are up to 500,000 a week. And this is in early April to 1.5 April. It was 500,000 tourist bookings, and now it's 1.5 million a week. That's just crazy. So the rate of the booking suggests that there is a huge amount of confidence. People are excited, and people want to get back. People want to get back to it. This is just the fact of the matter, And these airline companies are very optimistic, rather, for the next couple of months. And they say that people are also very happy that they get to travel again, and people, are super excited. Like couples, actually, you can see their stories. People are saying, they're traveling to countries like Portugal, and it seems like a touch and go right up the moment they got to the airport. So yeah, these people are saying, they're super excited. They're really happy that they're able to travel again. But the past few weeks have been stressful, for a lot of people, and they're just glad that they can get back to it. They can get back to traveling, and adding, all of this was just not. It's just not easy for a lot of people, and they say, it's very difficult with the situation and all of these restrictions. These green lit countries are just part of it. To even be getting the PCR test to travel to these green lit countries as well is also another thing that is difficult. And people say, these are it's just a sign of things. When you really think about it, it is just the sign of these things. So the Gatwick Airport chief executive Stuart Wingate said welcoming holidaymakers for the first time in months was a super big relief. And he expected the number of travelers to increase significantly by the end of May, but this will still be less than 15% of the traffic seen in the pre-pandemic times. I mean, I'd rather 15% less than none at all, is what I'm trying to say. And they do say that this is an important day, for a lot of these people, and they say they're looking forward to more countries added to the green list in the coming weeks ahead. So for that, the countries will have to follow and abide the specific rules. They will have to have their number of vaccination, the number of cases should be reduced. Hopefully, these are things that will be required for them to even fall onto the green list. So there's still caution. So online, a lot of these online travel agents also said that the number of people booking to travel abroad is really small. It's not really as big as you'd like it to appear as of yet right now. Anyways, with the things that is cooking on ahead, and yeah, it's they say all of these online travel agents say that 75% of its bookings were essentially for Portugal, and all the customers who were planning to jet off this week only numbered in their hundreds. So it's not as many people as they would like. A lot of these companies would like, these private companies. So on Friday, Portugal announced that travelers from the UK would be allowed to enter its border provided they could show a negative PCR test result from the previous 72 hours. So that led to an increase in demand for flights to the country. And yeah, people are just happy, that they get to go and travel back again. And this is just, something that a lot of people are, super excited. I mean, imagine being cooped up in the country for months since November, people were not able to travel or do anything. All they had to do was sit at home and just wait, weather the storm. And now that they're being allowed to go out and travel again, it does raise the question of possible other kind of variants. And this is just the other thing, that people are worried about as well. So many of those who tend to do this, they're doing all of these things, and they're trying to keep up with all of the issues. So although there has been travel, passengers on board said they feel like guinea pigs though. And they say that the travel industry knows it's important to make this process smooth and safe. If it's to have a good summer, then people are allowed, are these face masks essentially are still mandatory except for eating and drinking, but seats are not social distance, and a complimentary bacterial wipe is also given on board. And all of this, and there's a lot of paperwork as well, for people traveling now. And aside from the passport and tickets, they have to carry proof of negative PCR tests, a passenger locator form for Portugal, and proof of book tests for their journey back home. And it'll have to complete another locator form as well as they come back to the UK. So these are just still things that is in the stage of things. And this is some of the issues right now are test trying this and seeing how they can move forward as it goes along. So while travel from England, Scotland, and Wales is permitted to the 12 countries on the green list, most of the destinations are either remote islands or do not currently allow UK tourists to enter. So yeah, the government is advising people not to make non-essential trips to these locations on its amber list, which covers popular destinations such as Spain, France, Italy, and Greece. However, the guidance is expected to be ignored by some holidaymakers. So yeah, although they have set the rules and they set the guidelines and they said, okay, this is the deal. This is how the gig is supposed to go. But people are not going to be following through with it 100%. They still would like to travel to these amber lit countries, even if it means they'll have to be self quarantined and isolated for another 2 weeks after they come back to the country. So yeah, like I said, the majority of these countries are in the amber category, but meaning that most of these arrivals from these places to the UK will be required to stay at home for 10 days, as well as taking a COVID test and 2 more on arrival. So yeah, travelers arriving back in England from an amber country have the options after 5 days of quarantine to pay for a private COVID test under the test to release scheme. And if the results is negative, the quarantine can end. So yeah, this is just, some going on with all of these things. It just goes to show, all of these, they say that people are very, very concerned, and they say the vaccination rates and infection rates in a number of majority of the aviation markets were trending positively at the moment. And they noting that the US, an important market for both tourism and business, now have 60% of its adult population vaccinated, and infections are falling down. And yeah, so from Monday, people traveling abroad will be able to use the NHS app, which is different to the NHS COVID-19 app, to prove that they've had the vaccine. So yeah, Transport Secretary Grant Shapps previously said people who have had both doses will be able to use the app at border controls, and although these entry requirements as tests or quarantines might still be needed. That's right. This is just something that the government right now is addressing, and they're saying, okay, this is, right now, although this is happening, we have to make sure, that the infection rates, like, even though the infection rates and the number of people getting vaccinated in when it comes to the aviation market is positive, there is going to be issues, like this, that will require the country still, that to do tests, and to be, people should be undergoing these quarantines as needed according to all of these guidelines. And yeah, it just goes to show, all of these issues right now is just a part of it. So when you look at these things, hopefully you'll see, you'll be discouraged, at least for the time being. Make sure, if you want to travel, you travel to the Green Lake countries. There are 12 different countries that you can travel to at the moment, because these countries have been deemed safe by the government, and the government wants us to go to these countries for our own safety. So make sure you guys follow through. It's nice to spend the vacation in Spain or in France, but what doesn't, I mean, when you think about it, what will stop you from going next year? I mean, there's always the possibility of going next time. There's always next year. I mean, when you look at the things right now. So it's you got to also remember, it's about your safety. At the end of the day, it's about you. The government wants you safe, and they want the people as well in the country to be safe. And this is just all part of it. So if you play your part right, play your card right, hopefully everything can return back to normal. And yeah, lockdowns have been easing in England, Wales, and most parts of Scotland. So people must continue to play their part in stopping the coronavirus. And Boris Johnson has said all of this, and the lockdown rules eases in England, Wales, and most part of Scotland. So yeah, this is just, a part of it, of what is going on right now. Hopefully, this is millions now are socializing, especially when it comes in indoors in a limited number. They are able to hug the loved ones again, and they can visit their pubs and restaurants inside. So the ban on foreign travel also, like I said, has been released. We are talking about all of these things going on, and yeah, these are just, a part of it. When you look at it, these are just, a part of all of these things, how the lockdown is being moved on, and how the rules have been changing. And Boris Johnson also said that they've reached, the country has reached another milestone in their roadmap out of the lockdown. But we must take this next step with a heavy dose of caution. So end of the day, even if you're able to travel, make sure you be careful, because end of the day, we don't want you to get infected and then fall sick or fall ill, because this is something that we are trying to avoid as much as possible. And the rule change comes as the first variant identified in India continues to spread in the UK, with mass testing rolled out to these hot spots, including Bolton in the Greater Manchester and parts of London, and Sefton as well. So yeah, we were talking about whole this Bolton scenario. How the number of cases have been spiking especially when it comes down to the Indian variant of the virus. So the rule changes, like all of this, has been being, it comes because of all of this that has been discovered in India. So Mr. Johnson said that the government was keeping the variant under close observation. So they're really scrutinizing it and making sure they're observing it from, making sure that if in an event that these cases do spike, in an event this does, seem to blow out of proportion, well, the government will know what to do, and they will step forward and make sure that they handle the situation. So yeah, a lot of these, countries, like I said, are getting back into it. And there's been a lot of data. The variant is still going to spread, perhaps in a different ways. Hopefully they can have information when it comes. I mean, when you look at it, the number of the virus, the people cases of this variant type is increasing, and because of that, we can find, hopefully, the data show that the efficacy of the vaccine right now is not really clear, whether this is going to be really effective when it comes down to battling the virus. So hopefully this is something, that they can tackle as they move forward. And the vaccine will not fail. That's what a lot of people in both weekend, where the Indian variant now makes up a majority of these new cases. So prior to the push, about 10,000 people in the highest priority groups were yet to be vaccinated. Yeah, that's right. And scientists believe, the variant does spread more easily, but early data suggests vaccines still work. However, the same exact impact on the vaccine efficacy, if any, is still yet to be firmed up. So they're, like I said, they're not quite sure right now whether the vaccine is working fine. So Sir Jeremy Farr, a member of the government's independent scientific advisory group, SAGE, said the lifting of the rules was the most difficult policy decision of the last 15 months or so. So Sir Jeremy said that the variant is becoming dominant in parts of the UK, and yet vaccination across the country has been extraordinarily successful. And he further went on to say, I think we will see an increase of cases and infections over the coming weeks as some of the restrictions are lifted. But the key question is whether we have coupled, the increased transmission in a number of people who don't and need to go to the hospital. So he also added, a careful lifting is reasonable, but we may have to reverse that if there is escape from the vaccine. So yeah, the British Medical Association, the BMA, which represents doctors, said it was real worry that the easing was still going on ahead while the Indian variant was spreading out, and many younger people were not vaccinated as of yet. So a lot of these doctors also are not quite on board with it as of yet. They are concerned, they are expressing, and they are very vocal about their concerns about this. And lockdown, like I said, while the lockdowns are easing across England, Scotland, and Wales, the changes are different in each nation. So Scotland's first Prime Minister Nicola Sturgeon tweeted in Twitter, she said, "This is the long-awaited moment, but remember that the virus still poses a big threat. So please continue to be cautious and be very careful." So yeah, two areas of Scotland, Glasgow and Moray, will not have their rules eased out after a spike in the cases. So just because there's been a spike of a lot of these cases when it Moray, their rules, like I said, will not ease after because of this whole spike situation. So their relaxation of rules are not going to be easing out anytime soon. So the London Mayor Sadiq Khan has called for young adults in 5 boroughs of London where there are cases of the Indian variant to be vaccinated earlier than planned. That's right. He is speaking up. The Mayor Sadiq Khan has been speaking about all this. So Health Secretary Matt Hancock is due to make a statement, though. So the Health Secretary is about to make a statement on COVID to the MPs in the House of Commons at around, hopefully he will be making it. And he, it's fair to say this isn't a throw open the doors moment, and we won't see a photo op of the Prime Minister enjoying an indoor pizza or pint today. Ministers want people to enjoy themselves, but to do it very responsibly, do it sensibly. Make sure you be cautious. You got to remember, you got to be cautious. People should behave. Keep up that good behavior because we don't want the virus to be spreading out. So Boris Johnson has always said that the road in England is irreversible, but in a video on social media this morning, he says it's only irreversible if we all follow rules, and added a note of caution. So he said it's this whole thing, the road out of the mop down there. The whole plan is this is going to be the last lockdown in the country. That is the plan. That is what they're trying to do. Hopefully, we can get through with it. And there's been a difference in tone between ministers when they talk about the next step in England due on the 21st of June. So the prime ministers say the Indian variant actually, is going to make it more difficult because right now we've been thrown another variant of the virus and we're not quite sure how we're going to combat that. So the business secretary says he's hopeful and confident that although the variant is spreading right now, we will be able to find a way to counteract it. So there's also growing tensions between national authorities and areas with higher rates of the Indian variant over vaccines. So the mayor of London is the latest local leader to ask for permission to start jabbing younger people, and some places are doing it anyway. So that goes, against government to prioritize the first doses for the over 38s and the second doses for the over 50s is, the whole scenario right now. And in a statement issued on Sunday evening on the lifting of the rules in England, the Prime Minister said everyone must play their part by getting tested twice a week, coming forward for your vaccine when called, and remembering hands, face, space, and fresh air. So anyone in England and Scotland can order free lateral flow tests, which give results in 30 minutes or so, even if they don't have any symptoms. And in Wales and Northern Ireland, they will be available for certain people, such as those who cannot work from home. So this is essentially, when it comes down to essential workers, people like that are allowed to, will be getting these lateral flow tests in Wales and in Northern Ireland. Yeah, that's just how it is. So like I said, all these rules have been changing, and the ministers and senior advisors are concerned, due to the continued uncertainty about the Indian variant, including how fast it spreads and how fast it is going to spread, how many more people are going to be affected again, are we going to see a spike, will there be a third wave? That is the concerns that people are having right now, and people are worried. They don't want to get back into that. Like I said, like I've been saying all this time, people don't want to get back to that position again where they have to stay locked down at home for another three to 4, 5, 6 months. This is just not feasible, and people don't want to do that. People are frustrated. You can see with the relaxation how people have been are thoroughly enjoying this whole relaxation of the lockdown. So officials are preparing. The impact on the hospital numbers in the communities also have been affected by the variant, and will be studied closely this week and the next coming week as well. So a lot of these officials are preparing to monitor the consequences of the easing down of restrictions. The biggest step so far, with people mixing more and case numbers likely to rise. Yeah, so the preliminary laboratory data from Oxford University suggests, according to ministers, the vaccine will be effective the Indian variant, but they stress that there's a risk. So they say, although there will be some kind of form of defense against this virus, it's not quite 100% there yet. When you compare the AstraZeneca vaccine, the Pfizer vaccine, these are effective with respect to the virus strain that they have been targeted to. But when it compared to if you are, let's say, if you're vaccinated with the AstraZeneca vaccine, it doesn't guarantee 100% protection against the variant. Although there will be effects against it, there will be some kind of protection, is what they're trying to say. There will be some kind of armor. And within the next few days, the first dose will be offered to all of those between the ages of 35 and over in England. So the latest government figures show a number of further, 1,926 COVID cases have been recorded in the UK, while a further 4 people have passed away and have died. Yes, so the number of people in the UK who received a first dose of the vaccine has now topped 36.5 million. Let that number sink in. Given is at 20.1 million. I'm telling you, it just goes to show the rate is increasing. The number of cases have been decreasing. And it says, I'm super proud for the people in the UK, making step and doing this brave step and getting everyone vaccinated so that we can get back to normalcy, at least some form of normalcy. And from Monday, people traveling abroad also, like I said, they'll be able to use this NHS app as well, which is different to the NHS COVID-19 app. And this is essentially what this app will essentially, help them prove that they've had the vaccine. So Transport Secretary Grant Shapps have even said people will be able to use the app at border controls, although the government says people should still check countries' entry requirements, as tests or quarantine might still be required. So travelers can now visit 12 countries, like I said, the green list countries, including Portugal and Israel, without isolation on return. Yeah, that's right. All these things, hopefully, will paint a picture of what the current situation right now in the UK is. And, hopefully we can get this thing sorted and get back to normalcy. I mean, it's not normal. This is just something that the people, the public have been waiting for a very long time. They're frustrated, they're unhappy, and this is just a further step for them to get back to normal, for them to have at least a touch of their sanity intact. So with that being said, we are going to be taking a quick break, and we will be right back after this. Welcome back to Relax Radio with me, Nick, keeping you guys company, keeping you entertained and up to date with what is happening right now in the UK. There's a lot of things that has been happening, and yeah, like I said, the whole COVID situation going on in the country is just, it's crazy. Taking a look at all of these things is just crazy right now. With what is going on, and all of these things are just a part of it. Taking a look at things like that is just the whole country heading into the relaxation, the people getting back to normalcy is what we are planning to do right now. And right now, a lot of people have been talking about all these issues that has been happening. And yeah, it's when you take a look at these things, um Alok Sharma also, we're talking about all the COVID situation. We're talking about, getting into the topic of global warming, the climate change right now. Alok Sharma has urged, so this is with regards to the COP26. So yeah, the head of a vital UN climate summit due to be held in Glasgow in November says his personal priority is to banish coal. That's right. Right now coal is one of the issues, one of the major fossil fuels, in case you guys didn't know. And speaking ahead of the COP26 conference, Alok Sharma will urge nations to abandon coal power generation, with rich countries leading the way. And he also will add that wealthy nations must help poor ones make the same change. And he also will, tell banks and institutions to stop lending money to countries to build coal power stations. So in his speech, the former business secretary will say the days of coal providing the cheapest form of power are in the past, and in the past they must remain. So yeah, the coal business is, as the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has said, going up in smoke, and it's old technology. And so their planning is, what their plan is right now is to make the COP26 the moment, relive it in the past, and communities to make the transition, and creating a good green jobs to fill the gap. That's right. And yeah, his apparent passion, explains why he was reportedly apoplectic, when Community Secretary Robert Jenrick allowed plans for a new coal mine in Cumbria, a decision that's now gone to a planning review. So he's been really, really upset about this, and he was set to reiterate the UK's main themes for the summit, which will bring together climate negotiators from 196 countries, the EU, as well as business organizations, experts, and world leaders. And they are limiting all this whole global warming issue to 1.5 degrees Celsius. The whole plan is, right, like I said, to get the UK back to 0% carbon emission. That is, the plan, and helping people and nature adapt to climate warming that will inevitably, happen, and drumming up the finance for are planning to do, hopefully get everyone involved in this. This is just some of the things that they are planning. And yeah, they say, Mr. Sharma has said that he has faith that the world leaders will rise to the occasion and not be found wanting in their trysts with destiny. And he said, these are all some of the things that he just wanted to address, especially before this, ahead of the COP26, that will be happening later this year in November of 2021. Yeah, that's something that is happening. Although, the cases right now in Glasgow has been increasing. Hopefully it doesn't increase to the point where they'll have to push that back for another couple of months, because that's not the most desirable of situations right now. Hopefully that's something that they can prevent as they are going by right now. Let's see, let's hope for the best as they do this. And yeah, all these things that is happening right now. And if you take a look at the situation, all of these right now is just a whole, one of the issues, like I said, the pressing issues in the UK is the variant right now, the COVID-19 variant, which is the Indian variant that is right now taking a grip on the country, is what is making what is actually driving the country right now to the point where we have to take care. People have been advised to take care and make sure they follow the rules and regulations that has been imposed. Although the restrictions have been easing out, it has been relaxing. We're still not 100% there as of yet. We're still trying to get there to the point where we can actually make sure, as the country gets by, we can make sure that we beat this whole virus, we beat this whole pandemic. And the only way to do that is for us to get together and make sure we follow the protocols, set in by the government. Because this is the other way. And, to get vaccinated is also another way. It just goes to show, like I said, 30 million individuals in the UK have already had their first dose, and 20 million have had their second dose. It just goes to show, people will do what is necessary. And, we're super proud when it comes to this, how all of these things are happening and how people are taking the initiative and getting the vaccine and getting vaccinated and being more responsible as it goes by with the whole situation in the UK. It's just part of it. It's great to see people are actually doing all of this, and hopefully, it will be it'll be able to, the country will be able to move forward from all of these issues, these pressing matters that is happening in the UK. So yeah, all of these are just parts of what is going on. Hopefully this is something that we can address as we move along, and hopefully we will not push this one back any longer. Hopefully that when it comes down to the roadmap, it will not be pushed, because right now we are having concerns because of the sudden surge of the Indian variant right now in the UK. We're trying to get everyone vaccinated, but the government is not quite sure. They're not 100% sure of there will be some form of protection when getting their doses. It's not quite sure, not quite 100% sure what is, whether it is going to be effective or not. We're not quite sure. The government is still not quite sure. So they are making sure, that people do stay protected. Make sure you still follow all of the guidelines, because although you've been vaccinated, like I said, it's still not 100% sure that you won't get the virus. You won't contract the virus. So this is something that you want to avoid, and we want to avoid another surge in the number of cases in the country. So this is just, all of this is just a part of it. And hopefully, as the government moves on, this is something that we can, as a country, rise from. So yeah, this is just, some of the things right now that people should be being more responsible for, and should try, play your part right. Make sure, if you are going to be traveling, especially if you're going to travel to other countries, always make sure, you follow the guidelines set by the government. And make sure you stay indoors. If it need required, if you're required to do it, make sure you follow through with it, because this is just all a part of it. Hopefully, as like I said, as we go along, we can get through all these issues, together, and yeah, we can avoid another surge or spike in the number of cases in the country. So this is just, all of it is just a part of it, and let's see how it goes as as it goes on. Hopefully people will get, the number of cases will drop, and this is just something that the Boris Johnson and the whole government, the whole party right now, the politicians in the country, the people as well, are hoping for, because this is just a part of it. Because right now, like I said, people are sick and tired of staying indoors. It's just another very, very frustrating thing to be happening. And yeah, hopefully we can move forward from this, and hopefully this is something that we can combat together. And with that being said, though, it is about that time of the day for me to head on out of here. And I'll catch you guys again tomorrow on Real Talk, all the way from 3 to 6, the usual time. Catch me again tomorrow, same time. With that, my name is Nick, and I'm out of here. Peace and much love.